What can we learn about innovation through diverse experience? How is the cloud at the center of transformation for the foreseeable future? What home innovations will we see now that our office, gyms, schools, and restaurants are all at home? We'll discuss those topics and more on the audio show at the intersection of marketing, media, tech, and popular culture. It's a special episode of Disruptive FM from CES 2021. Roll the title.
Happy New Year and welcome to a special episode of DFM. It's Disruptive FM from the 2021 Consumer Electronics Showcase. Virtual. Sponsored by Branding Strategy Insider and Creative Studies. With special guests, Jay Bowden, Patty Watson, and Joe Moglia. And your host, Geoffrey Colon.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Disruptive FM for the Consumer Electronics Showcase of 2021. All virtual this year. Thanks for joining us. I'm Geoffrey Colon, head of brand studio for Microsoft Advertising. We've got a really interesting and extended show for you. We're going to be joined by three guests on three great topics, all around the theme of innovation. So let's get to it.
Trending topics from the Consumer Electronics Showcase on DFM. From locker room to boardroom.
When we think of innovation, we have a tendency of thinking strictly about the technology. But there is more to innovation than simply tech. We need to think about people and how the experience of those people mash together to build the impossible. Joe Moglia is the former head football coach and current chairman of athletics at Coastal Carolina University and the current chairman of FG New America. He's also the former CEO and chairman of the board at TD Ameritrade. We got to sit down with him via Microsoft Teams earlier to talk about how his diverse background has helped him tackle innovation. Let's take a listen.
I think first, Jeff, I began coaching football for 16 years. Then I went to Wall Street. In fact, Merrill Lynch put me in their MBA training program. There were 26 of us, 25 MBAs and one football coach. And everybody said, this football guy's not going to make it here. But a few years later, most of those MBAs were working for me. And I was a much better business person because of my experience as a coach. When I decided to go back to football after I stepped down as CEO of TD Ameritrade, and that's when they asked me to be chairman, I was a much better head college football coach because of my experience in the business world as a leader. So I think what happens is there are certain positions that require specialized expertise. We'll then bring that expertise to the table, hire that type of talent. And there are other types of positions that require a much broader breadth. So in those skill sets, when you're the leader, first of all, you got to have a philosophy. And the philosophy that I want to share with everybody, that is my specific leadership philosophy. You stand on your own 2 feet. You take responsibility for yourself. You treat others with dignity and respect. You live with the consequences of your actions. So what you're looking at is, number one, you always make an investment in people. So you try to make the right decision with regard to the right people in the right spots. Where you don't have the right people, you need to bring the right people. But you have to be tough enough and the leader enough to make the tough decision when those people are not delivering what they're supposed to be able to deliver. Secondly, I think you have to have a very, very clear message in terms of a sophisticated enough strategy that you can handle contingencies as they pop up down the road. But then you have to simplify it so everybody can execute that. A lot of leaders stick with being too sophisticated, and that can get executed, but they sound good in boardroom. And then I think the other piece is you've got to be able to do a good job of handling yourself under stress, because the real leaders are the people that stand up when things are not going well. So the skill sets of the leader, of somebody that runs the group, are leadership skills, not necessarily individual product skills or technology skills or financial skills or legal skills. That person hires those people or works with those people. But the person that's leading has to have that type of breadth and objective perspective.
Joe Moglia on diverse teams helping with innovation, a huge theme of CES every year.
Trending topics from CES 2021 on Disruptive FM. Workplace transformation.
I don't have to tell you how work is going. We've all been here for the past year. But what powers those results? Again, people and tech. Notice I didn't just say tech. And that leads us to our second guest. Patty Watson is the president of Intrado Enterprise Collaboration and an expert in using technology to drive innovation and transformation. We got to sit down with her last week to talk about how digital transformation is leading the way for workplace transformation. Let's take a listen.
When you look at studies of businesses and how they're run, diversity in all forms has proven time and time again to show that you make better decisions and you get better results when you have diversity. There's been a tremendous amount of focus on getting diversity on boards of directors. And that's all great. That's a great step. But what we really need to be thinking about is how do we get more diverse candidates, people of color and women, into roles where they have the opportunity to be in the top job. There was an article last year around where are all the women CEOs? And one of the things that came out of that is that when you look at executive teams, you find diversity in roles like the head of HR or the CFO, but what we're lacking is having diverse candidates in roles that actually run businesses. So to fix this problem, what we need to do is we need to start focusing on the talent pipeline at all levels and making sure that we're giving opportunities to people that are diverse to run businesses, to own the profit loss of a company. And then you'll start seeing those things change. I feel like there are still too many companies that really aren't focused on diversity and making sure that their talent pipeline, that they're growing diverse candidates. And so I think, we really need some action there. One of the reasons why I am thrilled to be with Apollo and Intrado particularly is Apollo has definitely focused on diversity, all kinds of diversity, not just women, but also things like people with military service, our veterans. I feel like I'm a story that people can hopefully, look to and say, here's somebody who grew up in technology, but she was given an opportunity by Apollo and by Intrado, our CEO, John Schomke, who's very committed to diversity, and put her in a role running a business. And I think we need more businesses that are willing to take a chance on diverse candidates by giving them that opportunity to actually be in a P&L ownership role.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Now, let's put the reimagination hat on for a second. If there's one thing that you could choose to wager on this year or maybe next year when it comes to business reimagination, where would you concentrate your budget and financial investments? This is a question I'm asking a lot of people because things have been turbulent this past year. So where would you invest if you're looking to grow your business this upcoming year?
Yeah, my focus is always on the customer and making sure that we are providing experiences and products that actually improve our customers' ability to do whatever it is they do for their business. I think when you have that focus, both through developing new products and providing experiences, that's really where you see success. As part of that, I think you have to make sure that you are engaging your team and developing your team so that they have the ability to bring those ideas forward, because many of them are interacting with your clients on a day-to-day basis. They see things from a different perspective than, maybe the senior executive team, but having programs where you're able to kind of have a grassroots effort to focus on those products and solutions that help our customers do their jobs better.
That's Patty Watson, president of Intrado, an Apollo company, on how to lead customers to adopt a more modern workplace experience through unified communications as a service.
Trending topics from the Consumer Electronics Showcase on DFM. Home is where the innovation is.
What should we look for when it comes to building new technology? Well, one thing is clear, and our next guest is going to get into this. How do you make something frictionless and easy to use and set up? And how do you keep it open so developers don't have to program in 5 languages to make it work? Jay Bowden has been at Google for 14 years and is currently the managing director of growth for home and consumer services. This means he leads teams that partner closely with Google's largest advertisers in the home and consumer services industry. He's a budding thought leader in the industry and was most recently featured on the One Growth show, talking about how important it is to take a people-first approach to achieve sustained growth through inclusive, real leadership. He stood up Google's international growth team in the Americas to strategically help clients expand into non-local markets, and most recently pioneered Google's Partner Growth Lab, focused on achieving 10x results through a growth mindset. I got to speak with Jay on where things are moving in the home and consumer goods space. Let's take a listen. Jay, welcome to Disruptive FM.
Thanks, Jeff. A long-time listener, first-time caller, as they say in the radio business. So super pleased to be here, and I'm extremely overdressed, but nobody will know that.
Love to hear that. Now, the theme for this special episode is around reimagination. You know, we've all been working from home for almost close to a year now. So we've had what a lot of experts say is, more than 60 days to get into new habits. Mm-hmm. How will some of these, new habits reshape home tech, work from home, product innovation?
Sure. So, yeah, you're right. I think it was February 22nd is the date that we think about when COVID truly started. I was ready to board a plane to India, actually, on a Friday. I canceled that at the last minute and did not make that trip. And candidly, I have not flown a business trip since. So your question's a really good one. And I mean, for me, the way I think about it is that, our expectations of a workstation are very high. Speaking from someone that works at Google or someone that works anywhere that you have pretty much everything you need, I feel like these companies really built out great workstations. And now that we're blurring work and personal life, it's going to be key that the tech brings us, raises the bar to the bar that we're used to in our personal lives. I mean, think about your experiences with Amazon, right? With Uber, with DoorDash, with any of these, right? Frictionless, touchless, fast. You don't touch anything and things arrive to you or you get where you want to go. I would say right now our work from home stations are far from that. And so I see it where really tech needs to catch up is the way I think about it. And, Jeff, it's not like all of us, like for myself, yourself, we work in tech. I would imagine we're probably pretty tech friendly and we know our way around a Zoom call, right? Whatever it might be. They have to remember the audience and that people are working from home that aren't technically savvy, that aren't used to maybe making a phone call even to the tech department to get someone to come over and help because their laptop crashed. I mean, imagine, right? So now those people are at home kind of stuck. And imagine all the noise around them as well. Their kids, their dogs, there's, whatever that might be. I think it's extremely frustrating, especially that first 6 months as people were starting to realize and get set up. I've made a lot of changes myself. I go from room to room. I stand, I sit, right? I'm still experimenting with things. I think tech's going to have to help us get there. And in a lot of ways, I think about it I'm a sales leader, right? For a profession, I'm in the sales industry. I believe strongly that relationships matter in sales, and people want to do business with people they want to do business with and that they enjoy. So I'm looking forward to a platform, a process that comes to market that really helps us connect more personally, virtually. And I think Meets is doing it. Zoom's doing it. We're seeing some things. A friend of mine mentioned Bomb, right? This kind of email based, short videos you can send to your customers to say hi. It didn't work for me personally, but I think we have to try and find a way to humanize the work from home experience. And I count on tech and technology to help us get there.
That leads me to my next question, which is, we aren't traveling as much for business. So we've been talking about work from home here in this discussion, which, obviously if we are working from home, a lot of us who did travel quite a bit, we're traveling a lot less. So, what technology do you think is needed more now that we live in a world with a lot less business travel?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, I don't disagree. I think it's super obvious, right, that we're not traveling as much for business. I want to make sure we talk about like the media side of that too, right? I'm not in airports. I'm not driving down the interstate so much, right? When I think about what we've seen, a huge consumer media shift to digital, right? Which obviously plays in the favor of many, many companies. And by the way, many, not just the companies that have the platforms, but then companies that use the platforms. You think about digital video relative to television. You think about podcasts, by the way, relative to, radio or being in an Uber all the time. Like, where are you going to get these listeners? So to more directly answer your question, for me, the tech that we're going to need is, again, how do I connect with my clients without flying and going into their offices and having a meeting with them in a boardroom, right? So I think about that as video. Only way to run good video is to have great bandwidth, right? And to have speed and to have ease and those types of things. So as much as your question, I don't think of it as like a product that technology needs to bear. It's that the infrastructure of technology needs to continue. I mean, good news, right? Not many platforms crashed during COVID. It wasn't like you couldn't make a Zoom call. It wasn't like your Gmail was down, your Amazon, whatever that might be. And if you think about the increased consumption that happened, it's pretty spectacular. And I'll point to cloud, right? Your cloud, our cloud, Amazon, whoever's cloud. But man, did we keep America running during a time when we were all not using or not in places where we couldn't use these platforms, but instead at home, trusting that my Wi-Fi was going to help me have this conversation with you or anybody else. So I think that's the forefront, is the foundational piece. And again, for me as a sales leader and someone that needs to see and connect with people, it's going to be that video piece. It's going to be platforms that help have a more personal experience so that I can continue to grow relationships with clients when I can't see them in person.
Jay Bowden, Managing Director of Growth for Home and Consumer Services at Google, on why the bundle is so important in 2021. What we mean by this, of course, is how do you bundle services together and build on top of competing technology that introduces your technology to new audiences?
It's Disruptive FM.
Communications.
The Business Culture Podcast.
They say if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of today.
It's Disruptive FM, the culture of business. I'm Geoffrey Colon. Thanks for tuning in for our special episode after a brief hiatus. We'll be back throughout 2021 for big events with big guests. Please reach out to us and give us feedback. The Twitter and Instagram handles are at Disruptive FM. And connect with me personally on Twitter at DJGEOFFE. A huge thanks to our sponsor partners for their support for this CES 2021 special episode. Branding Strategy Insider serves over 50,000 senior-level marketers, CMOs, and business decision-makers every day. It's distributed by partners such as the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Google News, and Forbes. Branding Strategy Insider, the leading resource for thought leadership in brand strategy and brand management. They need to be on your radar. Check them out at brandingstrategyinsider.com. And Creative Studies. Creative Studies is the t-shirt brand for the creative class. Minimal black and white tees with bold design. Worn by world-class creative directors, illustrators, graphic designers, art directors, strategists, and creatives of all types worldwide. It's what to wear when you're creating the world. Creative Studies, masters of fine arts. Check out their 2021 limited edition Create From Home collection at creativestudies.store. That's going to do it for our special CES 2021 episode of DFM. Special thanks to our three guests, Joe Moglia, Patty Watson, and Jay Bowden. Next event will be broadcasting for Cannes Lions 2021 in June. Seems like it's far away, but it really isn't. Once again, thank you for your time and attention. We'd appreciate your support in rating, reviewing, and especially subscribing to the show. We're on all the big podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. From everyone here at DFM, broadcasting virtually from Consumer Electronics Showcase 2021, I'm Geoffrey Colon. And and we'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to a special episode of Disruptive FM, a look at the 2021 Consumer Electronics Showcase. With Microsoft's head of brand studio, Geoffrey Colon, all thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.